Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about virtual and augmented reality, sensors, eye movements, and their impact on healthcare and security. My vision for the future is that the majority of virtual and augmented reality devices will incorporate eye tracking sensors. I think there are quite a few of societal benefits of augmented and virtual reality. So will be enrichment applications, such as better social platforms, more immersive educational platforms where we can teach in a better way. In general, our work productivity would be increased. We are going to have better healthcare and better life quality as a result of those platforms. And also in the Security Plus domain, we are going to have better authentication and spoofing recognition techniques and health assessment techniques. And those two items I'm going to talk about today. So why to have eye tracking in virtual and augmented reality? Well, the biggest reason is to reduce the computational burden via a technique that is called foveated rendering. So let me show you the foveated rendering concept in this video. So here, if you look at this video and look at the Shamu and the trainer, you can see that the trainer is encoded in high quality. And if you look at the background, you can see that it is encoded with a low quality. So this image quality distribution matches what exists in the human visual system, where we see only a little spot with high quality, and the acuity of our vision is greatly reduced in the periphery. So that is called foveated rendering. In the way, that's how this video is done. And so if the eye tracking is done in real time, then the viewer of this video would not notice the difference between the high quality uniform distribution and the foveated rendering. And that way, with foveated rendering, you can achieve great reduction in computational power while maintaining same perceptual quality. So let's talk about different eye movement types. So we experience eye movements all the time, but I would like you to experience them specifically so you would know what different eye movements are. So let's start with an eye fixation. If you can please look at number 1, then you're experiencing an eye fixation when the high quality vision is going into your brain, high quality information goes into your brain, and the eye is stable in regard the object of interest. The next eye movement that I would like you to experience is called the saccade. If you can please look at number 1 and then look at number 2. So you quickly moved your eye with an eye movement that is called the saccade. Saccades are the fastest eye movements in the human body, and the velocity of movement during those movements reach 700 degrees per second. So we have no vision during saccade. The brain shuts down the visual channel because otherwise the video would be blurred. And we basically see the world around us in the sequence of those fixation and saccades. And one more eye movement that I would like to mention is called the smooth pursuit. So if you have a smoothly moving target and you follow it with your eyes, so you can see it with high quality if the target is moving within a certain range. And if it moves quickly, then you can track, then you don't see it with high quality. Now let's look at the saccade specifically. If you look at the human brain, which is represented in this picture, you see multiple brain areas that are depicted here. And so a lot of the brain circuitry is involved in generating saccades. And so that way we can see that saccades are vital for the human vision, and they are everywhere in the brain. So why saccades are important? Saccade functions are well understood and divided into a recognizable hierarchy. They're easy to elicit, record, and quantify. They can be rigorously mathematically modeled, and I will show you a little bit how. And clinicians such as neurologists, psychologists, bioengineers, basic neurophysiologists, and pharmacologists all use saccades to assay brain functions. Saccades also can be used as biomarkers in assessing neurological abnormalities, psychiatric abnormalities, human development, aging, genetic disorders, personality traits and tolerance, and also measuring rapidly fluctuating states of neurological function. Now let's see what is involved in the eye movement control. Well, first of all, it's the brain that encodes the information how, where the eye is going to go next. And we also have the oculomotor plant that is represented by 6 extraocular muscles and the eye globe. And those muscles rotate the eye globe, thus encoding the information where the eye is going to go and how the eye is going to go. In my lab, we have created a mathematical model of the oculomotor plant. And so this mathematical model can generate or simulate realistic eye movements. And if you look at the components of this model, so we can see here the eye globe that moves in the rightward direction. We see the components such as the neuronal control signal, length tension component that represents muscle fibers, series elastic components that represents tendons. We have passive elastic elements and elements that represents the viscosity, that represents the fatty tissues around the eye globe. And basically what we see here are a lot of individual anatomical components in the oculomotor plant. And what we can do, and that is described in this publication, we can basically reverse engineer the properties of the oculomotor plant and the neuronal control signal from the recorded eye movement signal. I'd like to say a few words about eye tracking sensors, starting with what exactly, how does the signal that comes from the eye tracking look like? So we have eye tracking sensor hardware and then the gaze estimation pipeline. And so if you plot eye gaze signal over time, so here we have the time axis, and here we have the representation of the horizontal position of the eye. So we can see in the signal that we have the sequence of fixations and saccades for a person who is reading a piece of text. And that's what engineers or students in my lab are working with the signal here. Now, the most prevalent technology today is called video-based oculography. And so we have hardware such as image sensor camera that captures the light reflected from the surface of the eye. And we work in the infrared light. And so the eye features that we look for is the corneal reflection and the pupil. And then we can map those features from the image to the estimated gaze location. So there are various eye tracking sensor technologies that exist today. And so video oculography I already mentioned. There is also photosensor oculography, There is electroculography, there are scleral coils, and there are ultrasound. And so each of them has some advantages and disadvantages. For example, photosensor uses very little power, but the signal it provides has lower quality in certain circumstances than, for example, video oculography. So what are the aims for the eye tracking research currently and into the future? So the created eye tracking sensors should provide high quality signal for all conditions of intended use. For example, if you're using the system when you run, or when you read a text, or when you see. And eye tracking sensors themselves should have a compact form factor. They should be created at a low cost and to have lower power consumption. Let's say a few words about the security, more specifically person authentication. Let's look at this video. So here we have a piece of text, and here we have two people who are reading this text, and they are represented by the red and blue dots. And you can see that spatially and temporally, the reading pattern for those two people is different. And so we can intuitively see we can potentially distinguish those two people based on how they move the eye. So to understand what authentication performance we can have based on the eye tracking signal, we have used a commercial high-grade eye tracking equipment, more specifically iLink 1000, and we have recorded 300 people with 2 recording sessions, 20 minutes apart, and what people did, they were reading a piece of text for 40 seconds. And we have extracted more than 1,000 metrics. And the resulting performance was approximately 2 degrees of the equal error rate. And so the equal error rate is the performance, the estimation of the biometric performance of the system. For example, when we started this research in my lab, this accuracy number was 40%. And so the lower this number is better. And so currently with the machine learning techniques, we can get this number down comparable to the performance of the 4-digit PIN, which is a remarkable achievement. But again, it requires high quality signal to work. For the health assessment, there is a strong body of literature that indicates that based on eye movements, we can detect concussions, Parkinson's disease. There are differences in people, normal and clinical people that have dementia, multiple sclerosis, Wernicke's disease, and so on. And based on the example from my lab, I wanted to say that we ran a small study where, based on the biomarkers presented here, we were able to identify, with a small data set that we had, people who had concussion and those who did not have concussion with accuracy of approximately 90%. And in a more recent study, when we ran more people, so we saw, for example, here you have a representation of data, velocity-related data during a saccade, where you can see if we take the normal controls in those 2 sessions, about 20 minutes apart, this performance is quite similar between those 2 sessions and around the normalized number of 0. However, for the people who had concussions, so very closely to the concussion, you can see that their performance is significantly lower than normal controls. But then 2 weeks after, their performance improves. And so you can see those healing effects. So here you can see that with a concussion, you can probably detect it based on the eye movement signal. And so the conclusion here that eye tracking presents unique opportunities in the space of health screening and security in the virtual augmented reality platforms that have eye tracking capabilities. I would like to thank personnel in my lab who did the actual work. Thank you.